Hey guys, how you doing? How's your day going? And we just started. Hope you're having a beautiful and amazing day. Today we're going to be talking about decorators, but before we hop on into it, make sure to check out sosvaults.com.ng to prioritize your security today. But while we're talking on decorators, happy Christmas, happy Halloween in advance, and let's just hop into the video. So decorators are just functions that wraps around other function. So before we start going into code, let me reel it in layman's term. Let's say me and a friend of mine bought the same dress, and both of us have different styles. So even though we're putting on the same dress, I can decide to put on a long coat, you can decide to put on like a little chiffon jacket, I can decide to have a certain headdress, you can decide to have a completely different headdress. So even if we're carrying the same function, i.e. our dress, we can add so many different things to it to make it ours. Personalization mainly, this allows something we call modularity in your code. So how do you do this? You use functions. So a better definition could be, let's say we define a function dress. That function identifies the base dress that everybody has and everybody's working with. Within that dress, we can now define a new function that can be long coats. So that long coat, now my object can be the only one that decides to call that function. So that long coat function is functioning as a decorator, is an added feature, is adding something to my base function without actually modifying the dress. So I can decide to always remove that and just go back to my base dress. But yeah, let's just jump into how the code is. When you're defining a decorator, you just define it as you would a normal function. So let's say in this case, def long coat. Once you call it, the argument is always going to take is your function, so you can call it whatever. I'll usually use func, func parentheses. Within that, we're now going to define another function. Now this is very compulsory. You must always define a wrapper function. If you don't define this wrapper function, when you call or when you run your program, it's always going to execute that code whether or not you call the function or you apply for the function to run. It's always going to automatically run it. So wrapper allows you to control that. So you would always you always call your wrapper function. Then the arguments that wrapper function takes, it can either take no argument, or if you wish to pass in some arguments into your function, you pass your args and quags. I've touched on that before. If you still want me to stand up with your needs, let me know. But you pass args and quags into it, they can obviously be, you already understand it. Close it, then within that you're now going to define whatever you want to happen. So you're obviously, let's say in my case, I called my function, in the argument I give the base function, the decorator function, func. So I'll call func. But as I'm defining it, I can call things that will happen before that func function is called. And after I've called the func, I can state things that will happen after that. I'll just put a sample code here so you can see. Then when I'm now defining my main function, my base function, which is going to take it, at the top of it, I'm going to use an @ sign. And within that @ sign, I'm going to now write in the name of the function I want to call. So I've added that decorator. And you can use multiple decorators. You can use as many as you wish. The sky is your limit. But whilst we're still on the topic of decorators, there are some default decorators. They're like a bunch of built-in decorators that Python provides for you. One of them is property. So I think we have like static method and class method, I think it is. But yeah, you can just go on and Google it for yourself. But yeah, I hope that helped you understand decorators a bit better. And I'm thinking about dropping like a place where I can just have a bunch of all these codes and everything I'm talking about. So if you guys would be interested in seeing that, let me know so I can give that to you.